Why I Became a Monster. Chapter 1. Responsibility was the first trap. I didn't feel weak at first. I felt responsible. That distinction matters because responsibility disguises damage. It convinces you that strain is normal and exhaustion is temporary. You tell yourself once this phase passes, everything will stabilize. It never does. Pressure feeds on delay. The longer you tolerate it, the more ground it takes. Life didn't collapse in a single moment. It eroded. Small compromises multiplied. Focus fractured. The edge dulled. Decisions that once came instinctively began requiring effort. I was still functioning, still producing, still moving forward, just not at full capacity. That's the most dangerous state to be in, because you think you're fine, simply because you're not broken yet. Pressure doesn't care about intention. It doesn't reward goodness or punish cruelty. It applies force until adaptation occurs. Either you change or you are reshaped by circumstances that do not have your interests in mind. I believed endurance was strength. I believed staying composed meant control. In reality, I was being conditioned. Each day under sustained pressure trained me to accept less clarity, less energy, less ambition. That's how transformation begins, not with violence, but with gradual surrender. Eventually, something had to give. It was either going to be my future or my identity. Chapter 2. Distraction is how you're neutralized. The universe rarely destroys you directly. It distracts you until you dismantle yourself. Noise fills your days. Conversations that go nowhere, problems that never resolve, emotions that demand attention but offer no return. You stay busy while progress quietly starves. Motion replaces momentum. My attention fractured into fragments too small to build anything meaningful. I was reacting instead of directing, managing instead of creating. When your mind is constantly occupied, it cannot move forward with force. Distraction isn't accidental. It's an environment testing whether you can protect focus. A distracted mind loses its edge first, then speed, then confidence. You hesitate, you overthink, you second-guess instincts that once worked without effort. Every loop steals time. Every delay compounds. While I was processing, opportunities were expiring. While I was thinking, life was moving forward without me. That's how you're neutralized. Not by being overpowered, but by being kept just busy enough to never become dangerous. Chapter 3. The Relationship That Lived in My Head. The relationship didn't explode. It infiltrated. She occupied my thoughts even when she wasn't present. Every interaction required interpretation. Every conversation carried subtext. Every inconsistency demanded analysis. That mental occupation was expensive. It drained focus from everything else without asking permission. Gaslighting didn't announce itself. It worked through erosion. Small distortions repeated until certainty weakened. I spent more time processing her behavior than building my future. I replayed conversations while working. I managed moods instead of momentum. That kind of sabotage doesn't look violent. It looks intimate. It disguises itself as connection. You think you're investing in love while your attention is being siphoned away from your purpose. She didn't need to destroy anything directly. She only needed to occupy my mind long enough for me to fall behind on my own. Attachment kept me engaged even when evidence said disengage. I kept trying to understand instead of stepping away. The longer I tried to make sense of it, the more of myself I gave away. Chapter 4. Destabilization is the real weapon. The lies were layered, half-truths stacked on omissions, omissions stacked on denials. Each one forced me to question my memory, my judgment, my instincts. Gaslighting doesn't convince you of something new. It weakens your trust in what you already know. Over time, certainty erodes. You stop standing on facts and start standing on explanations. Arguments were circular, not designed to resolve, but to exhaust. I found myself defending observations instead of advancing plans, explaining reactions instead of executing decisions. Emotional energy was redirected into justification. The sabotage spread into work. Focus scattered. Creativity stalled. Time disappeared into mental replay. While I was untangling contradictions, deadlines approached. That's how control hides. No explosion, no visible wound, just steady destabilization until forward motion feels like resistance instead of flow. Chapter 5. Caring became a liability. Caring felt like strength, commitment, loyalty, emotional maturity. In reality, caring too much made me predictable. Fear of losing shaped my decisions. I softened where I should have enforced boundaries. I hesitated where I should have acted. Every move became defensive, designed to preserve something that was already draining me. Caring kept my nervous system engaged at all times. Even during calm moments, I was anticipating disruption. That anticipation is exhausting. It steals bandwidth meant for creation and execution. The danger wasn't love. It was obsession disguised as responsibility. I was stabilizing chaos instead of building a future. Caring wasn't noble anymore. It was killing momentum. Chapter 6. Loyalty without boundaries is self-destruction. I knew she was toxic before I left. I stayed anyway. Not because I was ignorant, because I was loyal. Loyalty without boundaries reframes endurance as virtue. It convinces you that tolerating damage proves character. You stay longer than you should because leaving feels like failure. While I tried to be fair, my focus deteriorated. While I was patient, time slipped away. Loyalty didn't protect the relationship, it protected dysfunction. Staying loyal to something dismantling you isn't strength, it's slow surrender. Chapter 7. Access was the leak. Too many people had access to me. Access to my time, attention, emotional energy. I gave it freely. Responsiveness felt generous. It was reckless. Interruptions fractured momentum. Obligations pulled me away from solutions. I couldn't hold sustained focus because something was always waiting for a response. The problem wasn't demand. It was permission. Once I recognized that, I restricted access quietly. Fewer responses, shorter conversations, delayed availability. Control doesn't require explanation. As access narrowed, resistance appeared. That confirmed the truth. Access had been leverage. Chapter 8. Guilt was the cage. Guilt kept me compliant. Guilty for prioritizing myself. Guilty for pulling back. Guilty for saying no. That guilt wasn't morality. It was conditioning. Guilt forces negotiation where none is needed. It softens boundaries. It keeps you exposed. Once I saw it clearly, its power collapsed. The monster doesn't carry guilt. It evaluates cost. Letting go of guilt wasn't comfortable. It was necessary. Once it was gone, decisions became clean again. Chapter 9. Seeing the end. Changes everything. Once I knew the relationship would end, behavior changed. I stopped arguing, stopped correcting, stopped stabilizing. I observed instead of reacting. Patterns became obvious once emotion detached. Knowing the end was coming removed illusion. Illusion is expensive. Truth is efficient. Preparation happened quietly. By the time she noticed changes, I was already gone mentally. The monster wasn't born from rage. It was born from foresight. Chapter 10. Coldness. Was insulation. Warmth had become dangerous. Empathy kept me exposed. Emotional availability invited instability. So I shut it down. Strategically. Coldness wasn't cruelty. It was insulation. As warmth disappeared, clarity returned. Focus stabilized. Decisions sharpened. I stopped explaining feelings. Stopped negotiating emotional outcomes. Action replaced discussion. Withdrawal of warmth removed fuel from the dynamic. And without fuel, chaos collapsed. Chapter 11. Extraction before exit. I didn't leave empty-handed. I reclaimed confidence, reignited momentum, redirected energy. I stopped apologizing for prioritizing myself. By the time I disengaged physically, the internal work was complete. Leaving without preparation is emotional. Leaving after extraction is strategic. There was nothing left to take from me. That's why the exit held. Chapter 12. Moving first ends the game. I recognized the pattern, so I moved first. I withdrew access before it could be weaponized, disengaged emotionally before abandonment could be used against me, removed myself from the narrative. Turning the tables wasn't revenge, it was outcome control. Once I moved first, the script broke. The tactics failed. Control evaporated. Chapter 13. Absence was the decisive act. Cutting access ended everything. I removed myself from shared environments, reduced visibility, eliminated pathways. Partial withdrawal invites pursuit. Full withdrawal ends it. Silence stayed consistent. Consistency is what makes absence permanent. That wasn't cruelty. It was protection. Chapter 14. Silence is structural. Ghosting isn't emotional. It's structural. No explanations, no closure, no final conversations. Conversation keeps systems alive. Silence ends them. Silence removed raw material. No words to reinterpret. No tone to weaponize. Discipline held where emotion would have failed. Chapter 15. Awareness, collapses, illusions. What broke her wasn't abandonment. It was realization. She knew I knew. Awareness collapses games. Once the mechanism is visible, it stops working. Silence communicated clarity. That realization destabilized everything. Chapter 16. Love didn't save me. I loved her. That's why I stayed too long. Love without survival is self-erasure. Structure had to replace emotion. The monster wasn't hatred, it was necessity. Chapter 17. Rebuilding without witnesses. Rebuilding happened in silence. No announcements, no validation. Routine returned discipline. Execution returned identity. Results don't require permission. Chapter 18. The monster is discipline. The monster isn't rage. The monster isn't cruelty. The monster is discipline without apology. I don't negotiate access. I don't explain boundaries. I don't tolerate erosion. The monster is controlled, tamed, kept on a leash, and it works.